Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I am Rebecca. I'm flying solo today, just me and an amazing guest. Anybody who used to co host with me is busy. So, this is what you get. And I think it's okay because we have an incredible guest today. We have Julianna on the program. How are you today, Julianna?
I'm good.
This is
Yeah,
fantastic. No, I just love it when we find people just randomly who, I'll see them post a little something about something and I'm like, now this is interesting. I wonder if this person, and then as you know what I love, the words I love the most are sure, I'll make slides, right? And Juliana
yes,
said that exact thing. So you can see from the slide that we have up, we're going to be talking about a hot topic, something there are so many people posting about and discussing LDS Mission, social media, and advertising. And Juliana is uniquely positioned to have insider information on this. So we will let you just kind of introduce yourself and then we will start with this presentation. We are absolutely fascinated by what you're going to tell us today.
yeah. Here I actually have a slide that kind of introduces
Oh,
me
there you
a
go.
little bit.
Like I said, we love slides.
So, because I'm a slides girl, I need it so I can remember what to say.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
I'm Juliana. I converted to the LDS Church in 2017, just feeling a little lonely. The doctrine really resonated with me at the time. I hadn't grown up religious. So it just kind of was like, oh, the perfect fit. And then I had like a good feeling reading the Book of Mormon. I ended up getting baptized. And then 4 years later, roughly, I served my first time mission in Arizona, in the Arizona Scottsdale mission, which is hilariously where I live now. Not in those mission boundaries, but I do live in Arizona. And so it's very interesting, but used to the heat now. And so I served for the full time. And I also removed my records a year ago. I just kind of want to be a little bit transparent about like,
Yep,
in case I have a bias, you kind of know where it's coming from.
yep.
Because I no longer believe, no longer a member. And I do attend a non-denominational church currently, which is just kind of, which I think is interesting because it lets me compare the advertising campaigns a lot between the two
Ooh.
with religious groups because I think they're really unique. And then I forgot to mention this, I also have a bachelor's in religious studies. So I
Oh my
love all things
goodness.
religion. And so really cool. But yeah, that is kind of how. And the main reason we're talking today is because I served on the social media team in a smaller role back in at the beginning of my mission for about 3 months in my first area, really small role. I'll get into it. And then for the last year of my mission, I served on the advertising team and as the top kind of the social media team. And so working with budgets, working with all these different things. And it was really interesting and
Yeah,
kind of
you got to
how all this
see how the
happened.
sausage was made, right? And I would have to
Yes.
say that I bet a lot of our viewers and listeners don't even realize a mission would have an advertising team, right? There's still
Yeah.
this thought out there that it's not an organized effort, that it's just a random sister or elder that holds up their phone and goes, hey, those of us, the rest of us are like, oh no,
Yeah.
there's this huge campaign out there. So you are so uniquely position to be able to kind of explain this to us with all of your background. So that's why I was so excited when you agreed to come on.
Yeah. And so let me see what the next slide says. So I'm going to go a little bit into the social media work the missionaries did. And so kind of like how it all went down. So for example, with every missionary that's considered a social media proselyting missionary, there's a certain setting on the phone system when they lock it all down that gives access to Facebook. And so this is one of the ways that you would do it. You would send messages to people in Facebook Messenger. I talked to Rebecca a little bit about this, but you would take your phone and you would say, "Hey, I'm Sister Lane, or I'm, Elder Johnson, or whatever it was," and you would say like, "I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints," full name of the church always at that time. And so we would send messages to people and we would be like, "Are you interested in learning more?" I did hear of a few lessons happening from this. It
But
was rare.
random people, like this is not even somebody that reached out to you. This is a random
No,
person.
it was random people. So you would sit there and you'd be like, all right, like you'd sit on the floor with your companion. I remember, and specifically, I was like, my first area, we had like this big room and we were all sitting in the middle. We were praying about like, you got to think of a name to like come to you. So it's like Lauren. And then you'd search all the Laurens in whatever town because you can filter out your results on Facebook. Like you'd search Lauren and then you'd filter out what city you're in. So Scottsdale or whatever. And then you'd get whoever it was and you would try to send messages to them. And you could do different things. We had a few different, sorry. That's my brother, in case you hear
Yeah,
him.
I can't
But
hear anything.
I had you would send like you could send videos to people. You could send like a video of yourself saying, "Hey, like I'm Juliana," and you sometimes would use your first name. It was kind of a debated topic if you should use your first name or the elder or sister, depended. And yeah, we would send messages to people. And it was just so weird because I think it definitely felt weird, and it felt weird to everybody. And
But you were
no,
instructed to do it, like
yeah,
the mission president. That because to me, I mean, I only had sons, which seems maybe a little safer. The idea of a daughter, cute daughter, out on the mission, randomly deciding to message somebody and send a personal video. Would you send them to guys or girls, or would it be? I know we talked a little bit about this, how you were concerned because that is concerning. A girl sending a
yeah.
random video to a guy.
Yeah, there was one. I originally said to you that it was just girls would send it to girls and guys to guys, but I believe kind of before I kind of said, nope, we're not doing that. It was you could send it to whoever. My companion told me just to think of girl names, which is understandable. But I remember my companions, my roommates at the time, not my companions, they taught a guy on Facebook via video call. So it definitely did happen across the aisle, but I was just like, this seems weird. And I don't want girls getting like in trouble. Like, I don't want girls having to be in such situations because it happens
Yeah.
all the time as a missionary when you're
Yeah.
getting in these situations as a girl. Like, you don't know where you're going, who's
No,
there, who's behind the door. It's really
yeah. And
scary.
I can't decide if tracting or finding seems more dangerous to me, where just girls walk up to doors and it could be anyone, or, and maybe messaging is a little safer, but either way, it's
Yeah.
complete strangers and you're just trusting, I guess, on inspiration, which,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, it just seems incredibly dangerous. And I can't imagine super effective. Although maybe there'd be one or two where somebody would
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I was looking for something and I suddenly got this message." But I I don't know.
It's
That sounds dangerous all the way around.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like those MLM recruitments that you get from people.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of at the time.
Yes.
Like, hey, girly, like you should join my team. It felt very much like that, except, hey, girly, join my church.
Yeah,
And it just didn't work out that way. Just felt weird. I didn't like it.
wow. Yeah, but
And a lot of
again, you're
missionaries
saying
didn't.
this that it feels weird. Your gut's telling you no. Your intuition's telling you no. The hair is going up on your arm. This is not right, but you do it because
Yeah.
your leadership and you're in that structure is telling you it's what Jesus wants you to do. Oh,
Yeah. And
wow.
so, but yeah, that was the messaging aspect. Another thing you could do, this was really small, but you could do your personal Facebook post on your Facebook, post on your stories. Missionaries and the girls love doing that. It was always a thing to get good profile pictures as a missionary. People love doing it. And it was just really interesting to kind of post stuff. I'll get into that. The church
Yeah.
really didn't believe that did anything, which is really interesting to learn. But people were always doing it, posting things. We later on, once I was on the ads team, we wanted missionaries to have something called like a pinned page on their page. Like, you can pin stuff
Uh-huh. To the
to your
top
social
right.
media. We had people do that. So they would have pinned page like, hi, I'm Juliana. I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I moved to Arizona so I could
Mm-hmm.
share the gospel with people. And it was like very introductory stuff. And then you have a picture of yourself usually. And sometimes I think at one point we actually told people to send that out to people on Facebook Messenger. But that was kind of those are the posts that you would have. And all this started in COVID. A lot of especially the individual social media work, it all started in COVID because missionaries were sitting in their apartments and they
Yeah,
had
that's all
nothing
you
to
have
do.
basically. That's so interesting. You should bring up the pinned introduction because I just saw one yesterday where and the thing that I took notice of is that this person is telling you where they are now. I mean, if you're a creeper, you know where they are. But this girl had said, "I'm at Carthage. I'm a missionary there at the
Oh, wow.
Carthage jail site, which is also known as the Gates of Paradise." Because it's where, and she had
Yeah.
this whole little spiel about, how beautiful it was and everything. But my first thought was, look at this cute little girl. To me, she's a little girl, right? And there
Right.
she is. And she's just told everybody literally exactly where they can find her every day. And I'm not trying to be cynical, but I just think, I don't know if that's smart.
No, it was, and it's something super easy. Like in a city like Scottsdale, for example, there aren't that many wards. I think there might be 10-ish in between both stakes now. And it's very easy to just attend those wards and figure out like, okay, where's this missionary?
Uh-huh.
And like those wards are open to the public. And so it's very like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
definitely is. The Carthage jail one is extremely specific,
Right.
but I
Yeah,
didn't
you
see
know
that thankfully.
exactly.
But yeah, it's really, I didn't even think about that. This idea
Yeah.
that you could just stalk somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and see, and I'm old enough to remember all those years and decades where there was no social media, you could not have your phone, you couldn't do anything as a missionary. And then finally, like you said, COVID kind of ushered it in. And then the church leadership were like, we don't know why the missionaries haven't decided to utilize social media, but we're telling them now to do it. Where I'm just laughing because, oh my gosh, they absolutely forbade it for all those years.
Yeah.
You could not have anything. And then I think, like you said, you mentioned other denominations. Other churches have figured this out. They're using it to the hilt. Like, for example, the Catholic Church, they just had a huge at the Vatican with the Pope
Oh
social
yeah.
media conference. Thousands of influencers showed up. They took pictures. I mean, I think everybody realizes this is why we're seeing the flood, right? Everybody realizes this is the way to impact. And numbers are rising. Catholicism has said, yeah, we're getting more converts, and we attribute it to the social media. So, the LDS Church, they're going to jump on that bandwagon, and they have the money and the power and the drive to really do it. So, I mean, I feel like we're inundated. I feel like every day it's just like, oh my gosh, can there be more content? Can there be more pages that you don't know it's the LDS Church, but it's something like Finding Christ or In His Grace? We
Yes.
recognize it as LDS because there are certain markers, but although there
Mhm.
was one the other day that I think we'll talk about with the mock margarita.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I have
there's
that on
different
here.
stuff, but yeah, I'm just fascinated to hear what happens behind the scenes to make all that possible for us to
It's
see.
it's so
Just
crazy.
crazy.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So this is kind of where I actually have an update to this. I was
Oh, good.
awake one night, but I'll just say it real quick. So these mission social media pages, they started out, I originally thought they started out in COVID. I actually found a mission that their Facebook page was created in 2019.
Oh,
So I think they might have been in a pilot program. So they were exploring this pre-COVID, but they definitely had more motivation to be like, nope, we're doing this full stop now. Once COVID hit. And so you can see they're all kind of founded in 2021, 2020. I believe our Facebook page was April 2020, which is why I put it last. But so these were all founded then. And so back in the beginning, kind of when I first started my first, I want to say 6 months of my mission, it was multiple pages for every zone. So between the missions, they're divided into the zones, and these can be stakes or multiple stakes, or uh, I think it can be just a stake or multiple stakes depending. And so it was like Church of Jesus Christ in Scottsdale. It was a little more like who this is. It was a little more obviously Church of Jesus Christ isn't the most very descriptive name.
yeah.
And there's plenty of conversations on that, but it was still like, it still was like mentioning the church's name in it. Then it went to Finding Christ in Scottsdale. And then we ultimately ended up going to Christ Centered Lives. And I have that down here. Christ Centered Lives. And that's like these names are super generic. A lot of the time there are still are some of Church of Jesus Christ, but for the most part, it's like near him.
Mm-hmm.
Believe is one of the most
Yeah.
popular ones. Find His Grace. I have some stuff on Followers of Christ. It's like really vague. I think I mentioned near him. Like there's very vague names. I was trying to find some of these pages because I was like, and it was so hard to find because they aren't Church of Jesus Christ, like a
Yeah.
local ward or stake social media would be. And so at this time, when there were multiple pages for every zone, there was zone leaders that were kind of in charge of it. Then there was the content team, which was a companionship, and then the live coordinators. This is how it worked in our zone. And so the zone leaders were there. The content team kind of made like posts or coordinated all the posts for the page because they weren't doing it all. They were often asking missionaries to do stuff. And then the live coordinators, these were kind of funny. And I don't think no one watched them. These were not effective. But we would make little Facebook lives. And like, I remember I did one. It was around Christmas. And we read like Luke 2 on Facebook Live at a church building. And so this was kind of how it would work. And it was super like, there were ads being run at this time. I did not really know about it. That's kind of why I put secretive in parentheses. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a secret from me, but it was more like I just didn't know it was going on. I was also new, so I don't know. But it was just that was kind of how it worked, and it became more generic across all missions. And then the mission name changed early 2022. So it lasted about 2 years where it was like Finding Christ. And that is when every page, so every zone page combined into one. So this is when
Oh,
every mission has its own page. And I joined the social media team full time in April 2022 by luck. So I started out as a live coordinator for 3 months. I was in an area where my companion wasn't on social media and it was just being done by other people. So I wasn't on social media for 3 months. Then my next area, my companion, she was on the ads team. She didn't want to do it after that. And I was like, I actually really love doing this. So I was like, I'll take it over. And then I kept going the rest of my mission.
so were
And
you proselyting door to door, or were you just focusing, or was it like a hybrid of a little bit of social media, a little bit of out there with people?
it was a hybrid. So it
Okay.
really wasn't, it depends in every mission. In our mission, it was basically like one person in a way was kind of in charge. I also never mentioned this, but when you were on the social media team, at this point, you actually got your own laptop without any
Interesting.
without any like barriers or anything. I mean, I think it was still like attached to the mission, so they probably could figure it out, but it had free range of the internet, which obviously the phones didn't have, and you could keep it in your apartment. So like you had full access at any time.
Wow.
And so that was interesting. But for missions, it was kind of, for us, it was that one person, and I kind of just moved with them as they switched companions. In other missions, it was very much, there were office missionaries. And a lot of the times they would make the office missionaries the social media missionaries because they didn't need to do that. I dreamed of being an office missionary because it seemed so nice. I didn't have to go contacting or anything. But
Yeah.
there were a lot of issues that came with that because the missionaries that could do social media all the time, they were like super good. They had much better ads. Whereas I was going out teaching lessons to people, doing the normal missionary thing, and then coming home at night when it was dark because I never liked contacting when it was dark. And that's when I would often do social media stuff. And so it was just like really difficult. And you don't have enough time to make good ads. And that reflected ad budgets.
Interesting. It makes me think that someday they'll just have purely social media missionaries that don't even go to a location, but you're just called maybe to a call center or maybe at your house, and you're just doing that because it's true. Some people are very savvy at this. Others, are not so much. The ads I see, most of them look pretty professional, like really, really good. I'll see one or two where I'm like, oh, that's cute. You went over to the church and jumped over a chair and said, read the Book of Mormon, but some of them are very highly produced. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to keep track.
Speaking of the whole what you had said, like the call center,
Yeah.
there was talk. I remember I went to a meeting early on in my social media time, and I'm gonna get into a little bit how the ads work and all the referral stuff, but they were going to have all the referrals from social media pages, especially specifically in Arizona. They were gonna have them go to like what they called the referral center, and that was gonna be staffed by service missionaries. And
Oh,
they were going to be in charge. I don't know if this ever happened, but they
huh.
told us about it. And they were going to have them respond to all the referrals and manage them and get them to the right set of missionaries. I don't know what happened with that, but
That makes sense though. That makes sense the way the church mobilizes that they would do that. Yeah, I bet that's going on right now. If anybody knows,
right. Yeah. If
the
you
chat.
know anything about this, please.
Yeah,
I'm very
please.
intrigued. And so, yeah, the name change specifically for our mission and also why the team downsized. The team used to be massive and it had message coordinators, content, ads, all these things, was because the ads weren't successful. And the people at the original ads, the ads weren't ever really successful for our mission, but we had the OTC. I'm going to get into who they are, I think, eventually. They said, hey, in order to keep your budget, you have to reframe your entire social media team. You need to start doing things differently. This included getting an Instagram, which they got rid of after a few months at this point, which is coming back. I have found a few
Yeah.
Instagram accounts. I even found a TikTok account, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know though. That one was, I tried looking for it recently and I couldn't find it. I think they deleted it, or maybe it was a
Well, but I mean,
impossible.
that's where they should go. I mean, that's where people are getting very quick, rapid fire
Yeah. I
information,
think they're scared of TikTok,
No, I
honestly.
think they are too. I'm scared of TikTok. I'm slightly on TikTok. I need to do more, but yeah, I think that's where everybody is. And so, but there's a budget. That's interesting to me. There's a
Yes.
budget. The church gives the mission a budget to support online finding.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, they give budgets, and these I mean, I'll kind of go into how much these budgets can be. I'll give you kind of our budget. We had a few hundred a month. I want to say $500 or $600, 700. So not a whole lot. I don't know exactly the advertising budget for like a smaller church or anything or any other organization, but that was our budget. But these budgets can reach into the tens of thousands of dollars. They can be really big. And I think that's what a lot of the missions currently are, just because looking at their page, they have a lot of ads.
Yeah.
There's very few pages with just like 3 or 4. For the most of them that I've seen lately, it's been over 100 plus. And so they're huge campaigns. And these pages are super popular. They can have over 100,000 likes. I think the most popular one has 150,000. So
And so every mission most likely has some kind of a team and a budget, and they're doing this.
yeah, I would say currently not every mission has that, but back in the day it certainly was.
Okay.
And that was very much the thing. Now it seems like, because I went to my old missions Facebook page. Scottsdale Mission no longer exists, but they're now the Flagstaff Mission. But I went to the Facebook page. They are not running ads. Even some of the mission pages, and the mission president also has to be on board with this. I think a lot of the mission presidents now are just saying, nope, we don't want to do this. This isn't worth it. And they can just shut the whole program down.
Really?
But if the mission president wants to do it, they will do it. I think my mission president just followed the area presidency, but it was kind of like that would be the whole method of how it worked.
So it really is kind of local leaders decide if it's going to work in your area. It's not the church saying every mission will have a page. It will have a name that does not reflect the name of the church.
Yeah, right. So yeah, the mission president does have like a certain level of authority in terms of determining that. But if they say they do, then the church will hook them up with all these resources to do so. But yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that because, like I said, and it's probably because I do stop and look at them to see if there's any funny content that I can put out there. But I get, I would say, hundreds of times a month. I think most of you guys out there listening or viewing can say the same thing. You see these all the time.
Yes. All right. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So now we're getting into full-on advertising. I put it into, so there's this guy named Joseph Smith. He is not actually named Joseph Smith. That's why his name is in parentheses. But Joseph Smith, we had meetings with him every week. I don't know exactly. I assume his contact info came through the OTC, which is a subset of the MTC. I'm going to get into who they are in a bit. But he worked for the missionary department, this guy. He was in charge of the mission advertising program, definitely in some capacity. And we met every week and we talked about the best practices for ads on the mission page and how to best make them effective. What should we do? What should we advertise for? What kinds of ads? All these things. And I also think he was in charge of Come Unto Christ advertising in some capacity because he mentioned it quite often, from the best of my memory. But he definitely was involved in the advertising, and he went to different meetings with Facebook and Google and all these different things to know how to best make his ads great. And he basically has an unlimited budget, so he's probably living the dream as a marketing guy because the church has so much money. But yeah, that's Joseph Smith, and he was an interesting dude. He was really nice and he was good. And these meetings that we had, they weren't just with our mission, it was with a lot of other dozens of missions, mostly from the United States and Canada. There were a few European missions on there as well, and one from Africa. So the advertising program was very much like across the church. And yeah, it was very interesting. Oh my gosh, I lost you. It was very interesting how the church kind of worked with that. And yeah, that was Joseph Smith. He was a very interesting dude. And so
I can only imagine that probably the advertising presence in Africa is now amped up just because that seems to be now where there's a lot of, converts and activity there. So I wonder if they kind of look at that and say, we need to, like I came across a job posting the other day for actors of an ethnic origin to star in a tithing video to say how amazing tithing was, right? But they had to be, they had to have an ethnicity, and then we're going to share, you've got to pay your tithing. And I thought, okay, I think I know where this is targeted toward,
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
So then we had the North America Southwest meetings. I'm going to call it Nassau because that's what I called it. Nassau. I don't know why. I'll try to say North America Southwest, but these are the area meetings. And then we talked about ads and social media with the area media coordinator. And on these meetings, the mission presidents were all there. all the social media leaders were there. This only happened to me once. I think the area media coordinator might have switched out or something. And so they didn't want to do them anymore. But we would go to these with the mission president, and his wife was always in these calls as well. But it was very much they weren't very effective. It only happened once. The Joseph Smith meetings and the OTC meetings were the big ones. And so the OTC is the online teaching center. I thought it was training center for a really long time, but it's apparently not. So these people we met with often, they're around my age. They're kind of recently returned missionaries. They work for the MTC and they work directly with missionaries. They often attended these Joseph Smith meetings, and they're meant to help these social media missionaries streamline ads. And I have a job description of what these people did, because they do a lot and it's very interesting. And so these people work for the MTC. They have MTC name tags and everything, but they mainly work with the missionaries in the field, and they talk about ads.
Huh. And so it's like online training. They're in Provo and you would Zoom in or have a meeting with them and they'd talk to you about the media presence. Okay.
Yeah. And we tried to meet with them once a week. And so they would sometimes you would come to the meeting with like an ad and they would be like, this isn't that good of an ad. And they would critique it. And we had one girl, she was pretty brutal. It was really funny, but she was they would take it seriously. They're often, I think, marketing majors and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that was how a lot of it worked. But let me go to the next slide.
I can't even believe that, you see an ad on Facebook or Instagram or something, and you have no idea this whole machine is behind it, right?
Yes.
Just all of this leading that charge. That's just amazing. Tip of the iceberg.
It really is. So this is the mission finding specialist job description. That is their official title. I'm just going to read the list, but optimize ad campaigns using downstream key indicator data. So how are these people doing? Coordinate with local missions to create and publish high intent ads and meta ads manager. I'm going to get into high intent ads in a minute. Conduct weekly planning, sounds very missionary-esque, to prioritize tasks for the week. Connect lead generation forms to the Preach My Gospel app. So I'm going to get into that as well. And then identify and resolve back-end and front-end referral contacting issues. Train referral secretaries and social media leaders on their responsibilities. Respond to messages from missions within 24 hours. And then let me see. Synthesize feedback from local missions. This one is a really interesting one. It says exercise wide stewardship of sacred funds associated with advertising. So definitely tithing money going to this.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I don't think people really want their tithing money going to advertising, probably to help the missionaries in that.
Yeah.
But identify and promote organic social media, finding best practices. And then, this is kind of what the job is. It's really interesting. If I had gone to BYU and still been active, I would have loved doing this, I think.
Oh, yeah. No, it's advertising for Jesus. I mean, the best of both worlds, right? The advertising and the religious aspect to it. So, but I think most people would not understand that all this was behind. You just think, oh, it's a cute missionary. They just made this cute ad. They really care and they want me to find Christ. I don't think they have any idea and not that the missionaries aren't sincere, but just the whole mechanism behind it. It's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's beyond anything. I've never really thought of it as this huge machine behind it.
Yeah.
But it very much is. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's get into ads. So these are some of the ads. I'm going to kind of show you. I didn't do a great job at screenshotting these, but I am going to kind of show you exactly what the situation is and all the different types of ads they would do. These are the ads that have been pulled from, for example, Find His Grace. I don't have the Facebook pages besides that one, I think. And these are live ads that are being run currently by missionaries that you could potentially see. And so these are kind of the ways that they would appeal to you. So, for example, the first one on the left, it says, even if you don't know if God is real, He knows you, and come to church this week and talk with kind missionaries. And so on this, you can see this little picture with is God real? And it has these answers, you can know for yourself. We know peace often comes when we seek the truth. And then you can hit sign up, and that will lead you to a Facebook form within Facebook or on Instagram. It works on both. And it will say, hi, we are so excited you want to learn more about this. And you fill in your information. You fill out your name, your phone number, your address, which I think was a little bit too much information.
Yeah.
And I think people knew that. And that also was another reason the referrals weren't perfect. And that would be kind of how it would work. And you'd hit submit, and then it would go into the system. It would actually go, if it was filled out with the full address, it would be directly linked to the area book, or Preach My Gospel now it's called. And it would auto populate in there and say, hey, you have a new referral from Facebook. And so that was kind of how the whole advertising section worked. And then the next one is, this one is really insane. Ready to get baptized? Baptism is a sacred step of faith when performed by proper authority. And so very much like get baptized. And this specific baptism ad I have seen on multiple pages, like this exact layout, just the dates can change.
Huh.
But yeah,
Complete forgiveness. Your sins are washed away and you are made new. Wow.
Yeah. And I feel like people definitely like, not that they're falling for it necessarily, but I could definitely see why people would sign up like, oh, I've been thinking about getting baptized again. You know what? I'll sign up for this. But if you notice this is like the huge thing on every single group, on every single ads. There's no mention of the church, who this is. So think about it. If you're getting an ad from an account from Find His Grace, you're thinking, oh, it's just like some Christian group. And even in the next one, it says young adult Christian groups. And it's like, I mean, here they kind of have the one elder on the right with the name tag, but
you wouldn't notice that.
That's such a small little
look
detail.
For. And then you look down the checklist here: complete forgiveness, the gift of the Holy Spirit, right?
That's
very Christian. Holy, I was never allowed to say Holy Spirit when I was growing up. No,
I didn't even notice that.
A fresh start, right? I've seen that a lot. Just start anew, right? A deeper connection with Jesus and a place in God's family. So yeah, it's just all very, very Christian. That's what it is.
And I think it's kind of funny because they don't really mention that, like, hey, you have to take 5 lessons or 4 lessons. Now I think it is. I don't know how many lessons it is anymore.
Oh yeah. Or you'll be on the rolls, or you can't leave unless you have a note. Yeah. And I say this to everybody. Most people in the Christian world, baptism means it's not that formal as it is in the LDS church. You're just simply making a commitment to Christ, and there you go. They don't know, right? That you're in once you do that. You're on a record, a written record.
Yeah, like at a non-denominational church like my church, you can just be like, you know what? I'm just feeling it. I want to get baptized. And you can just walk in. Like they don't, they're not asking you if you have a criminal background. Like there's so much stuff. I had a whole problem. That was one of the reasons why why I left the church, was because of that. But why are we like asking all these questions of people? Just let them get baptized. And even Catholics, I think you just have to, you go through the process, but you eventually do get baptized. None of this. There's nothing this intense, I feel.
No, or exclusatory. There's a lot of things that are going to exclude you from baptism as you get into those interviews. So the other thing I notice here is, the language is just really meant for people who need a friend, who maybe are lonely, who look for something. And I've mentioned this before, but even just today over on Faithful social media, I saw 3 different posts where someone said, hey, my friend is transferring. Is this normal? I'm going to miss, meaning a missionary, right? They get so attached and connected, and they really don't understand the process. And there are some people that sound really lost, like maybe even in worse shape than when they met the missionaries, because they're like, my ward, it just isn't the same. I want my missionary. They don't get it. And they've lost this friend. And you can see it starts right here, where it's just reaching out to somebody who needs a lifeline, and then they disappear. That's just how it works.
Yeah, it's so sad, I think, because I had someone I taught like this on my mission, and it's almost like, and this was in a very LDS community out in Arizona, part of the rural part of Arizona. And so you almost needed the church in a way to have a social life there in this town. And it was a very like, she got baptized, and it was just really like, you just know that experience isn't going to be the same for them. And they are lonely, and 100% they do try to capitalize on that. Like literally that was one of the things they would teach us. They'd be like, what do you think? Like, it's like, are you feeling lonely? Do you feel lost? And like, you would put that in the ads because it appealed and it worked and it got the referral. And so it was just, it feels very like, I don't know, it feels dingy to me. I think.
Like you're preying on a certain demographic who is going to respond because they're looking for someone. So,
yeah, for sure. And so then the next ad, this one's kind of just about young adults, which is interesting. I think young adults is one of their biggest conversion groups. I converted as a YSA at 18. So it very much is. And they know if they convert the YSAs and they get married in the temple and do all the things, they're going to be lifelong members.
Yep.
And so very much they want the YSAs, which I'm not sure why. That was not something we were told to do. But I think 100% it's just like they can't advertise to kids. Actually, that was something specifically we were told.
Interesting.
You had to be 18 to get an advertising. We had to filter out anyone below 17 and under from getting the ads.
Okay. Well, that's ethical. I mean, totally on board with that, because I can see, I mean, that primary presidents, people in wards, contact little kids who are in their, dropping off treats and things. And you always see posts about this is not okay. I'm glad that they at least realize online that they can't reach out to somebody who's underage.
I think there's a little more legal stuff involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they got to make sure.
A treat bag, right? Yeah. How do you know my kid's name and birthday? Well, you were baptized 20 years ago, don't you remember? And we've kept track of you.
Yeah, right. I know. I baptized a kid on my mission, and he was just, I remember they're like, well, even if he isn't active after his baptism, at least his name's on the records of the church.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hence the 17 million. There you go.
I'm like, oh boy. But yes, very much. All right. So these are some of these are other more examples of ads. This one's talking about a free scripture study class twice a week. We did run Book of Mormon studies, but I hate to say it, a majority of the time it was just lessons. So this isn't advertising for missionary lessons, I'd say. And you can learn more about Jesus Christ and his gospel. No commitment, stop anytime, but they will 100% keep contacting you if you decide to stop. But it was very interesting, kind of just these, meet the missionaries, but they don't say that. It's just twice per week. No missionaries, no nothing.
Yeah. No, and they mentioned the Bible a lot more. They call it Bible study. I've seen so many ads like that. And I thought Bible was almost a taboo word, even 10 years ago. It was not that. Now it's kind of like Bible, and they'll kind of throw in this other little book, but they definitely mentioned Bible study because that's familiar, right? People understand that. They're changing all that language, youth group, worship service, Bible study, even if it isn't what it actually means to other Christians.
Yeah, I feel like I remember you saying something about like our youth ministry or something. Or women's ministry or something. And I was like, that is so weird.
Yep.
And the church, no, that was introduced to me as Relief Society. It was not the women's ministry of the church.
No. They're changing it because people don't know what the hell we're talking about, right? When we say, come to my ward and go to YSA, like, there's so many acronyms, right? You got to lose those acronyms. I even noticed, we were taping this like a few days after the Michigan tragedy there, that as they interviewed some of the ward members, they even seemed to use language. They did say things like congregation, or I heard somebody say communion. They were trying to, I think knew they were addressing a national audience. And so I think they tried to use some of this more just common language, which makes sense. I mean, it does. You're trying to be a global church. You're trying to be more universal. People like, my parents' age would be rolling over in their grave, right? But everybody else, it's like, whatever. So things, and then you definitely see that reflected, the language in the ads, I think. So,
yeah. I also kind of speaking on the Michigan thing. I remember you posted a few days ago somewhere that I don't know where it was, if it was an area or what, but they said do not post anything until Tuesday. About Michigan, just talk about President Nelson.
Yeah.
And that is something I did not see on the mission social media pages. They are business as usual. The most they did was post church sponsored statements, like church newsroom talking about Michigan, or like President Nelson, the in memoriam post on the church Facebooks. But they're doing just as normal, back flipping over chairs, missionaries.
Yeah. So you're saying not much about Michigan, and everything just about come join our church. So it is kind of business as usual. And I'm trying to think of the reason behind that, because that was really surprising to me. I mean, it could be that they don't want the death of the prophets so low in the news cycle, right? Because it just plummeted after Michigan happened.
Yeah.
And the email actually said, say only wonderful things about President Nelson. I thought, oh my gosh, boy, okay, you're really crafting this right here, And the other thing is the church just a lot of times doesn't address, I don't know, bad news. I mean, think about conference during COVID. They didn't even talk about COVID. Now, I know Elder Bednar went out there. I saw some news stories today, and he definitely is using it as thank goodness we don't have this myopic view. We know we'll see everybody, it's all fine. And then they're, of course, starting to tell the miracle stories that came from it. So I think they will definitely, I'm sure that there is a media team. I know that sounds really callous, but there is a media team. They're crafting statements. President Oaks put out a statement that I think was probably written by Aaron Sherinian, the church spokesman. So, I mean, you know how it works even more than I do. I'm sure there's a whole team putting it all together. But for the common ward and stake, they said, you guys don't post anything about it. You focus on Nelson. We'll take care of this. So, there's a narrative. There's a narrative to be shared there. But that's interesting. Missionaries are still, I even saw Jasmine Rapoli put out something that said, are we safe? And it was kind of like an ad to go to church. Are we safe at church? Yes. I mean, we're worried, but we're safe. Come to church. So
I mean, it makes
missionary opportunity, right? I mean, I don't know.
I was like, I know. It's really sad because I do get it. And like, I don't know. I very much, when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly like my ward that I used to attend. And so it's very real. And so I do understand it. I definitely think, I like that it was turned into a missionary moment. Very Mormon of them.
Yep. No, we'll see what happens at conference. I bet they talk about it some more. I don't know.
Oh, yes, they will. All right. Back to the ads. But yes, and so these two are kind of just different examples. Come to church. And it's a place to breathe, to grow, and to feel God's love, surrounded by people who care. I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about this. What if no one cares about you? It's like, oh, I can have people that care about me. I'll go to church. And I forgot to mention this, but you can kind of see these girls. I blocked out their faces. They didn't ask to be put in this presentation, so I'm not going to show them. But in the last picture, I forgot to mention, these are all taken, I believe, from Bible Belt missions too.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't do on purpose, but I realized it afterwards.
No, it's amped up there in the Bible. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look.
That was funny because in the MTC, I had one of the MTC leaders was like, oh, like, don't wear a cross and true to the face. It says, do not wear that. And I had a roommate that was like, I like wearing my cross. And like, that's a huge thing for me. And so it was,
look at that. She very much is wearing that cross. Yeah. Again, Bible Belt. I know that's a thing because I've had family members that have served there and they did request that they purchased Christian jewelry to wear just so that, it was a universal signal when they came to the door that they would know that they were Christians. So I know that especially in the buckle of the Bible Belt where I had family members, you kind of had to use the language and you had to, give off, the presentation of being Christian like that. So, yep, I agree. I think it's interesting that you probably saw that supposed kind of press packet that was given to that one influencer who came out and said, I'm not even LDS, and everybody said, no, this was not from the church, but everything in it seems to be almost, line for line what they're doing here. It was, share a moment where you were lonely or upset, tell them that they can find friends. It really does seem to follow exactly what they're saying here.
Yeah, when that came across my TikTok, I went alarm bells. I need to know everything about this because of my social media ad stuff. And I screenshotted everything. It's all on my phone because I'm like, I need to know it. I need to have it forever. They're never
when you recognized it. That's the thing. You had lived this, you had done this, you had been instructed. And so when this person said, this is what they told me, you're like, I can imagine this is what I told you because this is what I did.
The denial of it was very like, ooh, that's not what happened. Because that's definitely, I looked at it. I was like, that is a church media packet. Because not that I remember we got a Light the World presentation and Light the World guidelines that looked very, very similar to that. It was just in red instead of blue for Christmas. And I was like, that seems exactly up their alley for the advertising right now for the church. And I remember like, it was just so interesting. It makes me think of how many things I see that are ads, but they aren't marketed as an ad now.
Yeah. And you can recognize
that.
Yep.
And that is 100% going on. I saw people denying it and I was like, I got to admit, no, it's happening.
And that's, I would, anybody that would deny it, because I posted a lot about it, and kind of broke it down and everything. And I would kind of write back, why is it so important to you that this would not be from the church? Why is this upsetting to you?
Yeah, I know.
This would be from the church that you have to not even consider when everything points to yes, this is, but people were that is not my church. We do not do that. So if any of you people are watching this presentation, this is also probably going to be upsetting because this is how the sausage is made. This is what happens behind the scenes. And I know the end goal is something they consider to be good and valuable. And that is however you can, lure someone in, reach someone, I guess I should say, and it'll all be great in the end because you'll be a member and you'll have that fellowship and closer to Christ. But those of us that look at it a little more pragmatically, we're like, oh, but the method that you're using to do this, is this really upfront? There's all kinds of collateral damage. Like we just talked about someone saying, well, where are my friends, the missionaries, and not understanding exactly what you're in for. So I think that's why we talk about it. Let's just be transparent and let's show what happens behind the scenes with these ads.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And no one really knows about this, I feel.
Yeah, well, no.
I was like,
that's why I jumped all over you, right? When I saw what you were posting, I'm like, you've got to come on my show.
I was like, oh, come on. I want to come on.
Come on. Yeah.
So interesting. And so this one is kind of another one. Come to church to learn about Jesus. Jesus is your biggest cheerleader. This one, I feel like, honestly, isn't super, I don't know. It definitely isn't leaning into the you're lonely kind of vibe or you need something. But again, they want these high value leads. All of these missionary lessons, come to church, get baptized. All of these are what they consider high value leads. And I think we talked about that with the job description from the OTC, but it is extremely about, and I have a little bit more like, this is what they wanted. They wanted very much high value ads. And sure, it might be a little bit higher price per lead, but that's worth it for the church because you're getting someone that's interested in this instead of someone who's just interested in free service or an English class. Very, very different stakes there. And that is kind of
cost more to place something then in a more optimal place or view. I mean, do they have a budget for that where they place the ads in certain places?
Yeah. So the ads, the way it works, you can technically do it in a certain way and like where it's how do I describe it? There's a certain way you can do it. But no, it doesn't cost more where it places. You can select where it places. So it can be kind of in your feed and the stories in a video, I think you can do as well. But they would kind of have it. It didn't cost more necessarily to place it. However, it, I believe, doesn't show to as many people because Facebook wants people to interact with the ad. So if the ad isn't interacted with well, by the people that are viewing it, it's not going to go far in their system. Like it's not going to last a long time. So because of this, that causes problems because then you aren't even being able to show it to people. But
that makes sense.
Whereas something, and this is something they kind of had us do was they're kind of engagement ads. These are all leads ads. So that means like they fill out a form. An engagement ad is something like you comment something. For example, I had one, it was like, God is blank. And then people would comment like what they thought God is. God is peace, God is love, God is hope, whatever. And that was how it all that's how people would do it. And so the idea and the time was that these engagement ads would drive activity to your Facebook page. And then when you put on an ad such as this, like baptism or church, it would show that exact same audience who interacted with your ad, church and baptism. And so, however, I don't see that after scrolling through many ad campaigns currently for mission pages. They aren't doing that anymore. It's strictly these high value leads because I guess they are going somewhere. I guess people are interacting with it. And I think that's why there's less missions doing it currently. But yeah, it very much is, you need to very much these high value things, what they deemed high value.
Even that font, Jesus, looks so Christian, right? It's that kind of, you would never guess that this is the LDS Church unless we all know this.
Again, no note of who this is. Very interesting. So these are kind of these ad best practices. A lot of these came from the quote unquote Joseph Smith meetings. 80% of people actually don't read the ad text. They just read the headline. So for example, I'll go back. See this, come to church on Sunday. According to the stat that I was given, it says that basically most people just read that, come to church on Sunday. And they don't read the rest of this. They don't really look. They may see, oh, that's a nice picture. But like for the most part, they just say that, oh, I want to come to church and hit sign up. Oh my gosh, I keep doing that. And that's the idea, is that it's just come to church on Sunday, and basically 80% of people don't read the text. So it
Oh,
was all
interesting.
about this headline. Make sure you have really bold headlines. And so the example he gave was that one time a mission had the exact same ad, same ad, text, photo, everything, but the headline changed and the price per lead went down 50%.
Wow.
And so, they were like, well, think about it. You're getting more leads for your money. So it's better for you. It's better for the mission. I said that no ads for free service or English Connect, just high value situations where people can eventually be converted to the Mormon church. It's being run by the missionary department at the head of it all. So this isn't about like letting people know you exist or anything. It's very much like, no, we want you to be baptized and to join
Right.
our group. And this is kind of what they would show. This is kind of what we were taught of what ads we should do, like finding a solution to a problem. And they often had emotional appeal. So you would have a solution, a benefit, and an invitation. So, like, you should get baptized because you could find peace in your life, kind of like that list before, like, get the gift of the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
complete forgiveness. And then the invitation is sign up below to get contacted. So they wanted specific ads for specific people as well. So it would be like find someone that you can target. So like find the golden investigator in a way, rather than targeting to the whole population. These are just kind of some of the ways that we would do it. And then all the ads that are made are shown on all meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram. So very
This is
interesting.
marketing, marketing, marketing. It
It
is
is.
pure marketing. This is, yeah.
I had a marketing job also on my mission, basically, is what it was. I have marketing experience. I'm very proud of that in a way.
Wow.
Yeah, it was marketing, and it's insane to think about. Like, just like now that I'm not a missionary, and it's like still it's weird now in a way. I'm like, huh, that's so weird. Like, we're marketing to people
Yeah.
as a church. It's just
But
interesting because a lot of churches are fine marketing themselves, but Mormons not so much yet.
yeah, everyone's doing it though. Like we said, this is exactly what it is. And there is a flood. And if you don't have a presence on social media, you're not ever going to be found. So
Yeah, it's
they
really.
are just doing what everybody else is doing. Everyone's on this bandwagon.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this is kind of what happens when you respond to a Facebook form. These are Facebook forms. So the form can screen you. So like for example, it will go like give your name and your phone number, and then it will go address, and you say no thanks. It actually will sometimes we have them later on in my mission. I started doing this where it would go to a screen and it would say, oh, like no thanks, like we don't think you're interested. Like it was a nice thing. It would be like, we don't think you're maybe necessarily ready for this time. Thank you. So they did do this. A lot of the times it was because the ads weren't super, I don't know how to describe this, but like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
So you're
But
saying that when people would fill out a form, it would screen you, and if you didn't put the answers that would make you a match to talk to missionaries, you would have
yeah,
some kind of thing. But can you imagine that poor person? The
I
ads like
know.
Jesus loves you, wants you, help you. We are so sorry you do not qualify at this time for. I mean, that's
Yeah,
really sad.
it really much was very weird.
Depressing.
Yeah, and they wanted all this information. They wanted your address.
Yeah.
And that to me was, and by the way, I went on Come Unto Christ because I was like, do they ask for your address there? They do.
Yeah.
The problem with the address is that we would have the way Facebook did it was it would ask for your street, your city, and your zip code and all that. And it was difficult because a lot of people don't want to put that much information.
Yeah.
So this information would eventually connect to Area Book or Preach My Gospel Now, and this would automatically send referrals to missionaries.
Okay. So that's the point. You have to know where they live so you know what missionaries. Yeah, because that can cause a lot of problems. I read a post
Yeah.
the other day where a guy said, hey, I went to church. It was amazing. I looked it up on the meeting house locator. I talked to everybody. I'm talking to the missionaries. I'm going to get baptized. They just called me and said, you can't do it at that church. You have to go to another church down the road. And this person, as an investigator or friend, didn't understand that at all. He's like, why don't they want me at that church? I like those people, and everybody in the faithful social media is trying to explain, no, you have to go to a certain, but they don't know how
Yeah.
weird that sounds. And this poor person is like, well, I feel really dissed and I don't think maybe I don't want to do it at all now. So yeah, I can see why they have to connect you with the correct people. But again, that kind of personal information, I wouldn't share it.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
one bit.
It's very difficult to get them to kind of give it. I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't give it out either. And so this would automatically send referrals to missionaries, which I put a star on because these referrals were not good in the sense that
Oh,
they were not perfect and they got stuck in the system. So if it didn't have a full address, or if even if they did give their full address and like they didn't spell their street name right, it would completely just cancel. It wouldn't send it
oh,
out. We would still have that result. So, for example, I could go on the computer and pull up the Excel sheet and it would have like their information they put in the form. And so I could have to manually add them. It looks like technically the OTC is supposed to do that, the MTC employees, but I never really had that happen. I was usually the one manually adding them all and making sure they went in. And so it was very like that was difficult and they never made it to area book. And again, think about it. If I didn't do social media every night, because some nights I didn't, I would be in a lesson until 8:30 and I'd get home at 9. It would be like curfew, I'm done.
yeah.
And that was a problem because I wouldn't notice it. And then it's like 2 days later, they're getting a text like, hey, you responded to that. It's like, I don't remember
And
that.
you're like, yeah, I don't, that was so 2 days ago, right? Unless it's
Yeah.
right away,
So
you
it
just
was
don't remember.
difficult.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem. And I think I don't know if it necessarily like stopped anyone from getting baptized, but that speed is really important. And they emphasize that all the time with referrals, just even normal referrals. They were like, you need to respond to them ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. And so, yeah, these are referrals that in the system, though, in the finding summary report, they are deemed Facebook and internet referrals. And so these are 3 times more likely to get baptized compared to a standard referral. So this would be someone that you found on the street, someone that you was referred on, come onto Christ. Those people were considered like almost like if they had 100 chances, if they had a 1% chance of getting baptized, then a Facebook one has 3%.
Ah,
And so I don't know. That's very interesting. And I think that's why it's still going on, is because
yeah.
they are getting success from this compared to regular missionary efforts, which makes you wonder why are the missionaries there at all? But
Yeah,
it
no,
very,
seriously. Have you thought about that? That really, if they can pinpoint where their success is, the most optimal use of their time and resource and money, maybe it really will be call centers of missionaries just doing social media every day and then a few out in the field contacting. I don't know. That's fascinating.
yeah,
The
it was
stats don't
very,
lie, right?
I know. And then member referrals were the 6 times more likely, I believe. So they had a 6% chance.
Right.
So
If you have
that was
someone
just,
who knows someone and you can kind of
yeah.
fellowship them together. Okay.
So that was just kind of like, it was, I think that's very interesting. That 3% stat and that 3 times stat because it really does have huge implications and it's why it's still going on. And I think why it will continue to go on. It's why the
But
influencer stuff's happening.
exactly. It kind of makes me think though, somebody that is online that knows how to look at an ad, knows how to click on it, knows how to fill it out is also a person that goes, oh, are these Mormons? Let me Google really quick, and then can find some other information. So you never know. It might be a double-edged sword if you're internet savvy, right?
Yeah, these pages, if you go into their about info, and I'm gonna go into how you do that later on, but they do often say Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on them,
Right.
or
Eventually.
LDS Scottsdale Mission is I think what's
Uh,
on my old mission page. And so it very much is obvious who this is at the heart of it. But church, Facebook does require some level of what do
something.
you call it? Anonymity or whatever.
Yes.
So of not anonymity, transparency.
Yes. Transparency. Right.
That's the wrong word. But yeah. All right. So the next one is the purposes of ads. So this is kind of my theory about why it's still going on because they're meant to be more local, these pages. And think about it, like you don't really get ads from the Southern Baptist Convention or the Catholic Church as a whole.
That's
You're
true.
getting ads from the local diocese or the local, Baptist church. And the LDS Church's ads, I think these come onto Christ ads, they do appear very businesslike and they appear much bigger. And it's like that's not what people want. And they're going to be like, they're almost going to sniff it out and be like, oh, that just
Yeah.
doesn't seem
That's
real.
some kind of weird corporate. Yeah, exactly.
Whereas they're like a little more, I guess, a little more homemade in a sense. And they will
Uh-huh.
get more responses than come onto Christ ads
Yeah.
because otherwise I think they would have ended this program. Because I
Well,
just
it's
don't.
intriguing. I mean, think about it. You see a cute sister missionary walking towards you. A lot of them are walking, right? And they're just
Yes,
going,
they're always
"Hey, have
walking.
you ever felt lonely and sad?" And then another cute one comes up behind her. I know I have in my life. And you know what helps me? Me too. I mean, it is. You're like, I watch them all the time. Look, I can do it so well. You're just kind of drawn in, they're just
Yeah.
talking right at you. And they do look a little homespun, which is what
Hmm.
makes it more accessible. But when you listen to what they're saying, they're following this formula, right? They're
Yeah.
word for word crafting this formula that they've been told to use.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And then I kind of talked about this earlier, but we were instructed to do posts and stories personally, and post on the Facebook page as a whole. But the most effective and main purpose of my time specifically was ads. And the content really didn't convert anyone. It was about ads. I have that written, and all these notes that I have, they're written down in my mission journals.
Oh,
So they are legit things. I promise. I'm not
yep.
making this up. But it was that was the main purpose of it. Was just like ads are the best, which makes sense because you have money being thrown into it and
Yep.
you're actively promoting it all. And so, yeah, this is being run by the missionary department. So even though it feels local and it, like you said, more homegrown and more like, oh, like it's just nice people, this is the missionary department at the head of it. And it's Joseph Smith superiors, which are the quorum of the 12. And so
Yeah.
it's extremely it's really nuts when you get down to it.
It,
How
it reminds me
much?
of Amway, right? You don't know that you're involved in
Yep.
Amway. They talk to you, they're friendly, they're nice, you have presentations, and then finally at the very end, they're like, it's Amway. And then you're like, what?
No,
And you're
right?
invested, right? And you've heard all the stuff. So it does work. It's a technique that works. It absolutely
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it's really nuts how this works. But I mean, it always blows my mind.
Were there other missionaries that were, involved in this I mean, did anybody have the sense of, wow, this is how the sausage is made. Boy, I'm disillusioned. Or was everybody just like, this is what the Lord wants us to do? I mean, did it break
Yeah.
anybody or cause a crack in a shelf? Or was it just like the Lord wants this? So we'll
I
do it.
think it was more the Lord wants this. And I
Okay.
think especially among missionaries, you almost can't let anyone know that you're disillusioned. Like I
Yeah.
remember on my mission, because I left the church very shortly after coming home. I was like, like I just think I need a break from church stuff when I get home. Like maybe just 3 months. I don't go to church. I just relax. Just a teeny little break. Like I'll come back. I'm totally gonna be active. Don't worry. Which is funny because I was not. I was planning on it. I just so everyone.
Everyone's planning on it. Yeah. But then you take that step back and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better physically, spiritually, emotionally. I don't think
Yes,
I will go back. Yeah. That happens to me a lot.
exactly. So I was like, and so then it was just, but yeah. And I remember one of my companions was like so shocked. I even said that. She was like, what? What do you mean? And I'm like, I just, I'm like tired of church. I'm all churched out after this
Yeah.
mission in a way. So, but yeah, I don't think anyone was really disillusioned by it. I definitely feel that I got a really good look at how it works behind the scenes. And like, I'd say also, I'd even say I haven't even seen behind the curtain. I feel like I've just seen the curtain, you know?
Oh,
I see the
wow.
curtain. I feel like there's
Yeah.
way more going on because I don't know. I feel like that's how the church is. I feel like
Yeah.
there's so much going on and like the members don't know unless they work for the church. And so it's so interesting.
No, I think you're right about that. I love how you say that. I think I've just seen the curtain because you're right. A missionary, you're being told what to do. You have certain parameters and instructions, but you don't know the big picture. And I think a lot of
Oh,
people that work for the church, they keep it very compartmentalized on purpose.
it's like a
When we had the
nuclear
whole SEC and the
like Manhattan
NCC and
Project.
started to learn, nobody knew the scope of everything because they were all very much compartmentalized in their own
Yeah.
little job and they couldn't see anything else. And that's by design. And I'm sure that's going on here as far as the
Yeah.
cogs at the top that are running the big picture for the missionary ads. You were
Mhm.
just one part of it, and I'm sure there's a lot more. So, but
Yeah.
your part is fascinating. Most of us,
It is.
all of us, have no idea of even your part. So this is great.
Yeah, it is interesting. All right, next section. So these are kind of the content for the ads. So these could be borrowed resources from other missions. For example, in these Joseph Smith meetings, a lot of the time missionaries they would share like here are the best ads that they had. They actually gave us a Google Slides presentation with 100 successful ads in 2022. And you literally could just take that content, screenshot it, post it in your own ad, and make your own. which is these ads are all the same. And so maybe not all the same, but there's a lot of similarities, if not the exact same stuff. They also can be original content filmed / created by missionaries. We had one or two original content ads. For the most part, it was stuff maybe we created in Canva or stuff we took from other missions because it was considered like almost open source. Like anyone could use it. We're all here for the same purpose. Doesn't matter. And it was really interesting. So the 100 successful ads presentation was very interesting because they went over some of the most successful ads. And I remember this one sticking out to me was the free Jesus sticker in the Portland mission, I believe it was. And they were giving out free Jesus stickers. And it was one of the most successful ads the church had. And I was like, that goes against everything I've been told.
Yeah.
To not give out free things like free Book of Mormon or free Bible. Because then it's like, it's a one and done transaction.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how is that the most successful? I'm like, I think it's because it generated volume. And so people get the free sticker and then they keep going back to the same person. They're like, you know what? I'll listen to these girls, you know?
Would they deliver it in person or was it like a mail?
Deliver in person always for the missionaries. It was definitely, I mean, the church isn't gonna send postage or anything, but definitely deliver in person. And yeah, it was really and I'm gonna get into this. The original content, going back a little bit, they can be filmed with members as well. You could theoretically have members. Missionaries tend to just use themselves because they're easy to contact. But yeah, which is I think what happened with the whole Margarita one was it was a member who didn't really know any better.
Yeah, she didn't have a name tag, and we'll show you that. Some of these are off the charts and off the rails. Although a lot of us look at it and say, are they just encouraging the most attractive ones to do these? Because it just seems like some of these girls are just, drop dead gorgeous. Those seem to be the ones that are really forward facing and, do you want cookies? I'll drop them off at your house. We're just like, oh, we're so worried for these girls. But it does seem like a lot of them are just very physically attractive. And I don't know if they choose those on purpose or what they do, but it's interesting.
I mean, I've seen in one of the social media pages I was going through, it had elders. So there are some with elders and other people. I think honestly, the ones with the pretty girls, they just happen to do better.
Yeah.
So we see them
more.
And
that's true. We see them more. You know what? That totally makes sense. Yeah.
And so they do. But unfortunately, the more conventionally attractive ones, they're going to get the most face. Yeah. And so it's sad when you think about it because that's who's interested. And so.
Yeah, that's scary when you think that that's who's interested. Yeah.
It's like, oh, like it's probably some creep.
Yeah. No.
And so that
Heretic. Have you seen Heretic? Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally Heretic.
Hard time watching it just simply because it seemed, it was so authentic when they were meeting on the porch and stuff and how, every gut instinct was telling them this seems weird, but then overriding that was, but he's willing to listen, and that's the same kind of thing. It's weird to go to some stranger's house who saw my ad, but he's willing to listen,
Right. And so I kind of went over the engagement ads thing already, but they're not happening anymore. It's all about these forms and getting the forms done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. What's my next slide? Issues with mission advertising. So these are some of the common problems that we would run into. Original content issues. This was kind of what prompted me to think about coming on here because I saw this reel and I was like, does Rebecca know about this? And you're like, no, I haven't heard of this. And I'm like,
I had not seen it.
It was crazy. Oh. And so this felt right up your alley. And so this woman, I'm assuming she is a member just because one, she just doesn't seem like a missionary. And two, the fact that she used alcohol glasses, I feel like missionaries would have noticed that.
Yeah. They would have been hyper alert. And somebody else, was it you? Somebody else showed me another ad that she was in. Oh, not really? As a missionary. She was wearing a denim dress, walking toward the camera saying, do you need Christ in your life? Same girl, alone. So I do feel that she is a member. Okay. She was not with a companion and she didn't have a name tag, but yeah, this was just, you can't see it super clear there, but it does say Sky Vodka on that glass. And the shape, obviously, and in the video, she's like doing a tumbler. She's shaking it.
It's so flirty.
She loves church. And you're just like, what?
I know. I was even like a little, even as a missionary, I think this would have been like, okay, this is way too much.
Yeah.
And it is currently down. I did go on this Find His Grace Facebook page and to their ads library, and it is no longer there. It is missing.
But we have the
I know
screenshot. So there you go.
yes, the screenshots are there. But the original poster, of the reel that I found this on, she said she had contacted the mission president and everybody and been like, hey, just like an
Yeah.
FYI, this is not giving the best view of the
Yep.
church. I'm like, that's 100% fair because
Yep.
it's not. And I think most missionaries would 100% agree that this
Yeah,
is
even
not.
at the end, she's
Most,
like toasting with her glass and she's like, church is the best day of the week. Shake, shake, shake. I love it. And she's mixing her
it's
drinks and
so
she's like,
crazy.
church. And you're like, whoa.
So nuts. But
Uh,
yeah, and again, it seemed to imply alcohol, which
yep.
missionaries don't, no, Mormons don't drink alcohol. So this was the other issue we had, and it was palpable. And it might seem kind of like, oh, this is not a big deal. For me, it felt like a big deal. Mission president support. My mission president, he was very much someone that I think was told, like, hey, you need to do this advertising thing. But he didn't know much about social media. And you can look up who my mission president was. He was a CES director. He was not a marketing guy. He
Uh,
didn't know about this. He worked for the church, like his whole life worked for the
oh,
church. So for him, it wasn't like, it was just like, love the church, love what they're doing, but like, I have no idea what to do.
right. Whereas if you would have had a CEO or somebody that ran a company that utilized advertising heavily, they would
Mhm.
understand that this is the tactic. This is how you do it.
Yeah. And that showed because I have it here, the Colorado Denver North mission, the mission that I had lived in and converted in, he was an MLM executive, that mission president.
Yeah,
Because
they
I
know how
knew,
to do it.
and they were, and again, we talked about like, it's like Amway. It's
Yeah.
like getting a hey girly text. I mean, they know stuff. And those missions, like missionaries in the Joseph Smith meetings were always talking because they had like better information than we did.
Yeah.
And so it was much more difficult. They were showing up in the meetings as well. I remember, I think one of the missions in Europe, they had like this big round table, almost like the high council table, and they had the whole social media team next to them. And then they had the mission president there. And I was like, this just seems so formal. And like the mission president really cares. And that was a good thing because it gave you more time to work on the ads. It gave you more
Right.
time to work on things and fine tune stuff. Whereas in my mission, it was almost like an afterthought. Like I had some companions who hated being with me because they were like, oh my gosh, like I have to go to these social media meetings. Like I don't want to do that. And so it was just like, if you had a mission president who said, nope, like I care about this, this is important to me, it shows. And it really, I think, shows up in the ads as well. And you get better results and you get more budget. And then it all
Yeah.
compounds on itself. So the next one will be boundaries. This is the one that I think is really interesting. This is like geography. So, like, for example, a mission in Hungary, their ads are going to go to the whole country of Hungary, and they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to advertise to the whole country. And it's going to be super easy to like target in my population, like what area I'm doing. And these ads, for example, I was in Arizona, and at the time there were 5 missions sharing one metro area. So you had, they had the Phoenix mission, the Scottsdale mission, the Tempe mission, the Mesa mission, and the Gilbert mission, all working in the same metro area of however many people. And this was a problem because you're advertising to people. And when there's a huge urban area that's being split apart by very like meaningless boundaries in the grand scheme of things with other people, your ads can be theoretically shown to other missions. And that was really difficult because I don't think they had a really good way of determining what the success of that person was from a specific mission's ad campaign, if that makes
That
sense.
makes sense. Yeah.
So, like, I can make an ad in the Scottsdale mission and it could be shown to someone in the Phoenix mission and they could get baptized. But that's going to show in the Phoenix mission that they got a Facebook
Yeah.
in their content. And they're going to be like, oh, great, your ad budget's going to go up. And it's like, okay, but what about me? I'm the person who got that person.
Yeah. That was
I
my
felt very
ad.
possessive. I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but I believe
Yeah.
it is. And that was a huge issue, was that it wasn't being shown to other missions, and it could be shown to other missions. Whereas Hungary, it's just going to be to Hungary. Doesn't matter where they live. And that was a huge issue for us in Arizona. So I spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours on this. I looked up every single zip code in our mission and I added like a specific boundary that we could put for all ads. So it
Okay.
only advertised to people in that circle. And because I was like, this way it keeps everything in-house. That's what they wanted. So yeah, it was really, those are some of the issues that we had. Yeah. All right. And then, so this is kind of what's going on today. They seem to be the same as they were before. Less missions are directly involved. Mine is currently not posting ads. The Denver North mission that I mentioned earlier, they haven't posted anything since 2023. So I think a new mission president was called and they were just like, nope, we're done with this. And so it very much is dependent on where they are. And yeah, less missions seem to be involved.
Which is funny because I seem that there's
still so much
amount more of ads. So maybe certain successful missions are kind of tasked with putting all the ads out. Or again, maybe it's just me because it's in my feed. I talk about it a lot. My phone, I'm talking about, and I see it all the time. But yeah, and especially since now, the whole world is on board with advertising religion, and it just seems like they would amp it up instead of dial it back. But again, like you said, only seeing the curtain, there could be stuff going on behind the scenes at a very high level that they're putting stuff out, or they have something that's more this, bigger picture than just an individual mission doing it. We don't know, I guess.
Yeah, when I was just about to leave my mission, they were actually thinking about ending some ad campaigns for missions and just having them come through the Come Unto Christ page.
Okay.
And just being like missionaries in Surprise, missionaries in Phoenix, or wherever you were. And it would just kind of target you based on your city. To my knowledge, I don't know if that's still going on. I didn't really check it, but I remember when it came out in 2023 and I was like, oh, look, that's what they talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, less missions are involved. I think it's just because it's a lot of work to train all these social media ad leaders for the church too. Like you have 400 plus missions. And so if every mission has an ad leader, you have to have all these different OTC people. And like, there's just so many people involved. And I think they're trying to cut out a lot of them.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Maybe just have some kind of embedded team that's, there at the MTC or something that works like that. Were you converted by an ad? I would just have that.
I wasn't.
You had actual somebody found you and
so I would kind of say I knew about the Mormon church for a really long time. I knew about it. I didn't grow up in a very Mormon area. And so it was almost like this very foreign thing to me, which I think a lot of members were always like, that's so weird because they grow up in Utah or Idaho and it's a very normal part of their lives. But I was like, no, I didn't. Like, I had no Mormon students at my high school, like over 3,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So really not LDS at all. And so then I went to college. I had a girl that lived on my dorm floor. She posted about like, I joined the church a year ago and like, I love it. And it was just so interesting because I was like, like, people are converting to the Mormon church. Like it just almost took me off guard. And so then that kind of spiraled that, but no, it wasn't. It was definitely social media. And it was a post. It was a personal post, which is why I was like, no, like this kind of still works, guys. But it was very much but yeah, it was just, no, not an ad, unfortunately.
But in person after that. And I also noticed that, the church comes out with instructions for people. Don't be afraid to post about your life. Post about Mormonism, post about activities, you as a person, just what you described, reading what, the girl in your dorm had posted. So I think they use that too, whether or not that's effective, because that's more just like engagement. Someone will write, that sounds cool, but it's not like it has a button to contact, but it definitely keeps the presence out there. But they keep promoting that. And I keep thinking, I've seen so many ads where people are putting their kids out. Look, here's my child who was baptized today. Here's his name, his birthday, his school. You're like, oh, if you want to show that, but they're just trying to keep it up. This is what Mormons do. And this is who we are. And just facing the world. So very crazy.
But yeah, anyone can view mission ads on Facebook.
This is interesting. Explain this. I did not know this.
So this is kind of how anyone can do it. I believe a lot of it happened because of the 2016 election. I know there was I don't know the whole story, but there was issues with advertising on Facebook. So they had to get more transparent with it. And you can view any ads that a mission currently has up on their account. So you access their ad library. So if you go to the Facebook page of any mission, so like if you go to, let's do Find His Grace, for example, you look in Find His Grace and you hit About and you scroll down, you can go to Page Transparency and you click See All. You can scroll down and select Ad Library, and that will link you to a new page and it will have all their ads on it that they are currently running. And you could also do that for Come Unto Christ as well. I'm probably going to do that after this call because I'm intrigued to see what they're doing because I forgot to check. But it's just like that's kind of how you would do it. And it's really simple. You can do this for any organization too. So it's not just the mission. And it's very interesting to see.
That is interesting. I know one of the big controversies, of course, is especially when that social media influencer was contacted, mistakenly thinking she was still, are people paid to do this? And then that's fake. If they're paid, it's not really them. But the mission ads, these are real people that are, really out there, really trying to reach people. It's not an actor or an actress who's trying to do it. So, they are authentic like that. And that's, I tend to gravitate more towards the goofy ones that it just looks like some elders got together and said, "Oh, let's do this." All right.
I know, right? Those are always so
Book
funny.
of Mormon at me, and you're like, "Oh," but I mean, yeah, I can't look away. I'm addicted to these kind of ads just to see what they are. But and then they do have influencers, obviously, but I think it's pretty obvious when it is somebody like that. I don't think they try to pull it over on you that it's somebody that they're paying to bear their testimony. But they definitely, when they do pay people, like say, some of the ones that we know that they pay, there's a script, or just a protocol of how you're supposed to present yourself, the words you're supposed to use, the words you're not supposed to use. To me, that was very interesting. But, don't say Mormon, don't say LDS, So yeah, they definitely have an image that they're trying to be consistent with. Yes. And that makes sense. That does make sense.
It's super image based. I remember once I got the Facebook page was tagged in some pornography, we'll just say, the whole Facebook page. And so us and a bunch of other mission pages, and we're like, and this was after curfew, but I looked at my phone because I got the notification about it, and I was like, oh, like we need to get this down ASAP.
Yeah.
And it was after curfew. The sister training leaders were over at our apartment for some reason, and they were like, nope, you can't do that. Like, it's after hours. You're not supposed to be on your phone. No. And I was like, I think the mission president will understand this.
No, you have to do that.
Like, nope, do not tell me what to do. And I ended up, so I took it down, and then another elder on the social media team also saw it that night, and he did the same thing. So I was like, see, I'm not crazy. But no, it's very image based, and yeah, it really makes me think a lot about like how curated everything is. But yeah, I was like very intense. I was like, nope, this is gonna look good.
Yeah, well, no, and I think that's what they want and expect. And did you see? You probably did. It was on CNN, and it said, what's the Mormon church, the LDS church? And then there was a picture of Kingdom Hall. I know. And I was like, oh, that everybody in those media departments higher up were just rolling in their graves, right? They're like, oh my gosh, after everything we've done, they think we're Jehovah's Witnesses. So
right. I know they're upset about that.
Yeah. Well, and people are so upset. I did a short today just about how the newscasters are butchering the name of the church. But, it's a 9-word name. I've seen all these comments on this horrific story as the newscasters struggle to, say the name, be respectful. And all these comments from faithful members saying they can't even get the name right. Well, you better say that. I'm like, are you serious? In the face of this tragedy, that's all you're worried about. But it is 9 words long. And mostly what people have landed on, I've noticed, are the Church of the Latter Day. Because Latter Day is distinctive, it's something different. And they're not trying to take out the word Jesus Christ, but the Church of the Latter Day is what they seem to be saying. So yeah. I just, and that's why I do predict that at some point they really are going to just drop Latter-day Saints and just call it the Church of Jesus Christ. I mean, they already do that sometimes in, different media and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe we'll go back to Mormon. I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens with all this. Coming in. No, it is going to be really different. But
I wonder if the ads campaigns are going to go away, but we'll see.
Or amp up. I mean, that's the thing. You do not know. I think as long as they sense their success, and maybe it's like the only success, then they're going to keep investing in it and keep doing it, and also there's kind of a keep up with the Joneses. I mean, the Catholic, once they had that huge media conference, if you guys haven't heard of this, look this up. The Pope was there. He invited 1,000 Catholic young hip, cool influencers, and they all went there, and they, were instructed on how to post on social media. They were able to take pictures with the Pope, and then they put that out everywhere. And the feedback was, yeah, we've had a huge surge in interest from this. So, maybe we'll see a day where President Oaks says, okay, everybody meet here. And I mean, that they understand the value of influencers, because when they have temple open houses, the day before the regular public can go in. It's always the influencers,
It's
and
the
they take
media.
pictures and they tell them to post about it. So I think they are starting to understand and get on board with that. Who was it? There's this really famous streamer. What's his name? Something Speed. Oh, I'm butchering it. He went on Temple Square last week. And,
Okay. Yes, I saw that.
Yes. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah. Everyone's going to laugh because I can't think of the name, but it has an I in it, and it
I
has,
want to say it was like Speedy or something.
yeah, it has the word speed in it. I show speed, I think, is something like that.
Yeah,
anyway, he's
something like that.
massively, like he's only 20 and he's massively popular. And they say he showed up at Temple Square. I don't know if he might not have gotten an invitation. He does go around to different places, different countries and things, but they showed him there, and he was in the tabernacle. They were explaining the acoustics to him. And then outside of the building, he was telling everybody to be quiet. This is a real place. But I have seen that everywhere. It's being reposted everywhere. It's reposted on Coming to Christ. And I'm like, how interesting. This doesn't really seem like somebody, but to reach the younger generation, it is. So I think they understand the value, partnering with Mr. Beast, right? That happened last year or the year before. I think, they do. I think they get it. And, if you had younger general authorities, younger apostles, I think you'd see more of it. I mean, given that the top leaders are from the silent era, maybe they do. The silent generation, they may not get it, but I don't think it's going away, because I think there is success. I mean, unless there's like a backlash where people are like, how dare you? This is artificial. This is not what God wants. I mean, you could see some of that, like the people that were upset about the media packet and saying there's no way that's real. The church would never do that. So there's a balance there, I think. But I mean, everybody's doing it. So
everyone else. Yeah. I remember going with like the influencer. I remember for Light the World last year, I was getting ads for it. Light the World Kansas City. They had Andy Reid, super active member.
Yep.
And then who did he recruit to be in it? Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, like super famous football players. Taylor Swift's fiance now. Like, it's huge people that everyone knows. And so it's just like they know what's happening. Like they do.
Although I feel like some of the Light the World influencers and actors and actresses that are behind it don't really understand it's the LDS Church. They just think it's a cool red box and it's awesome at Christmas time. And, I think that is one of the more brilliant campaigns, though. The Light the World, whoever came up with that is huge and gaining momentum, and it doesn't cost the church a thing to do it. And they get,
it's a really good campaign.
Yep. I kudos to them on that. It was very smart. So, well, this is absolutely fascinating. And I hope that we've just, given people just a little peek, right? Kind of at the curtain, like you said, and there's more. And I keep thinking, things will be revealed, things will happen. Other people will come out and say, I've got the goods on all of it, but this really shows kind of how it all was put together. And I'd be curious if anybody else out there, knows if missions still have, the media specialists, if they're still, like you said, you think some missions are still doing
some missions for sure, but I don't think a lot anymore. Like probably a few dozen.
Yeah.
Very
I don't know. I'm going to have to pay attention to more of these ads and see if I can figure out exactly, now that I know the difference between engagement and the call to action, and, it all makes sense. I'm being manipulated. I admit it. And I fall for it every time, and I don't even know it. So it's okay. If I weren't, maybe I'll rejoin the church. I'll find one of these ads. Yes, I want Christ. Right. Yes, I'm lonely. Yes, I don't know. Well, that's great. Any final thoughts as we wrap up here? Thank you so much for coming on. This has been, and putting slides together. Like I said, those are my favorite words. I can make slides. So.
Yeah, I didn't want to, but I was like, I got to do it.
Because you did it. You did great. It was perfect.
So, I don't think I have anything now. Yeah. So like I said, everything that I need to.
I think you left it all on the table. That's right. This is great. And, I'm hoping that everybody's chatting during this, and if you have questions, we can address those, or if you have more information. So please, everybody, comment, let us know what you know about missionary advertising and just advertising in the church in general, and what you think of that. I mean, for somebody that's been in the church for, 6 decades now, like I have, it's a huge difference. It's a huge different thing. We were pretty much told to shun social media for a very long time until they realized, we can use this. And now it's kind of spun as, isn't it great? The Lord created this tool so that it can, everything is always, they used to say that about the internet until they realized, oh, maybe not. Right.
Yeah. We kind of use this for good.
Yeah, exactly. There might be a podcast called Mormonish someday. Oh no. So,
Right.
but yeah, just comment and let us know what you guys know about this, or if you've noticed this influx of ads, or what you think about all this. I think it's a fascinating topic, and I think there's more to learn. So please like and subscribe to Mormonish Podcast. And if you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out, you can hit the notification bell. If you would like to make a donation to Mormonish so we can keep bringing you incredible content and amazing guests like Julianna, you can always make a donation. There are links in the show notes to donor box, and we absolutely appreciate every one of you that do that. You are amazing. We have links to our merch store if you want to pick up anything with a Mormonish logo. And again, thank you, Julianna. This is great. I just love it when I randomly come across somebody and then we just chat, and then I'm like, this person is amazing. They have got to come on with us, and then it all works out. So this is fantastic. So thank you once again for bringing all your knowledge and sharing. It was super awesome to meet you. So
yes, it was good to meet you too.
Yep, it's great. All right, everybody. We will see you next time on Mormonish Podcast. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.